Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. Today, I want to talk about what I read in February and what I plan to read in March. It is a wrap-up and TBR video. I had an interesting February. I think it was another slow month for me in terms of reading because it was another busy month. I was elevated in my job. I'm now in charge of the entire assistive technology department, which is pretty cool, but it means I'm so busy I don't have time for very many other things. Although things have definitely slowed down at the end of February, so I hope this is maybe just the beginning of the quarter type thing. And our beginning of the quarter was delayed because of the university deciding to stay remote for part of the quarter. So a bit of a wild time, but we figured it all out, and I'm doing something new in my job, which I'm happy about. Although it does mean that I haven't read as much as I wanted to in February, but I am working on that. And I do have a number of things planned for March. I do want to read something interesting, some things that I have had lined up, and I want to knock some stuff off my TBR for the year, and also I think I want to try to issue a challenge to Lucas over at the Bits of Lit. It is time for another one of our famous challenges. This time from me to him, so we'll see how that goes. Probably not until April, but be on the lookout for that. But without further ado, let's talk about what I read in February and what I plan to do in March. So I'll do the wrap up, followed by the TBR, and we'll move on from there. So what did I read in February? The books that I read include The Shadow King by Maza Mengistu. That was about Ethiopian rebels fighting off fascist Italians prior to the start of World War II. I thought it was an amazing book. It was one of my friend Bevan's recommendations. So, congrats to her for recommending such a great book. But I thought it was pretty amazing, and the emotion in the story and how ugly it felt too. How it was willing to show that Ethiopia's patriarchal society, it wasn't much better than what the fascist Italians had in store. So, saying a lot about women's liberation. I didn't talk a lot about the end of the story, but I feel like it had a really powerful ending in terms of showing the two characters' journeys. The first being the main woman character, whose name I'm forgetting. I'm sorry about that. But I don't think she got over the loss of her autonomy in Ethiopia. And so the ending for her was about reclaiming that and kicking out the invaders. The invaders being a Torre in this case, who was an Italian Jew, who also didn't feel complete because he had left behind some artifacts from his father, who he never had a great relationship with. And there's so much more to talk about there, but I'll leave that up for you to find. I think the ending is really well done and very layered, and I think it's probably one of the best books that I read in February, the best book. And it's probably going to show up on my year-end list. I can't gush about it enough. I also read Cannery Row by John Steinbeck. I thought that was okay. Pretty short, and it didn't have the depth or even the emotion that Steinbeck stories usually carry. But it's a standalone sort of like slice of life kind of story. It's pretty fine. I guess it wasn't what I was looking for, given what I've come to expect from John Steinbeck. I also read, what was it called? How the Other Half Eats. I don't remember the author's name. I'll put it up somewhere here. But this was also a Bevan recommendation, and it was for the book club, which we haven't done this month because she is I think as I'm talking, she's leaving India after getting married, which is pretty groovy. But she'll be back in America, who knows when. But we moved the book club to next month, and I thought the book How the Other Half Eats was fine. Didn't have a lot to say about it. It was about how there are racial and class divides when it comes to nutrition and dieting and eating, and how the wealthy have a lot to eat and have a lot of means of getting great food for their children, but wealthy mothers and poor mothers are very similar in that they have a struggle centered around eating and being seen as doing enough for their kids. And I thought that was an interesting element, but there still wasn't a lot to talk about with the story. I feel like if I had been assigned this book 10 years ago when I was starting my social justice journey, it would have been more powerful. But given I'm reading it now when I know half the stuff that's already in there, yeah, it didn't really do much for me. But I don't think that's a point against Bevan. It's just a point against the time that I was reading this, I guess. I also read God Country. It was a graphic novel by Donny Cates. Very interesting and a lot of fun. Don't have a lot more to say about it. I do wish that there was more to it in terms of maybe a sequel or a prequel, just fleshing out that universe. But I guess if that was the case, then it kind of loses its mystique, and that's why some things don't need sequels. And then I also read Batman No Man's Land Volume 1, which I thought was just fine. Having read it and thinking about it, it has a lot of themes, a lot of ideas, but it doesn't, at least in Volume 1, it doesn't follow up on those ideas. I don't know if it's going to follow up on Volume 2, but we'll have to just wait and find out. Hopefully it does. I also read a number of short stories in the month of February, although I missed one because I was just so busy with work that I didn't want to deal with it. But one of them was The Last Israelite in the Dead Sea. It comes from the short story collection Visit Me in California, which I thought was okay. I found myself thinking less and less about it as the month wore on, so that should give you some indication of its quality. I read Little Miss Sophie by Alice Dunbar Nelson, which I thought was great. There's a lot more to talk about with Little Miss Sophie in terms of the lower classes sacrificing their own health for the wealthy elites, and for also a lot of commentary about race to be had there, which I don't think I discussed enough in the video I made. But I urge you to go out and read this. This is probably the best short story that I read this month. And I recommend that you go seek it out if you haven't done so already. There was a link in the description for that video that I'll go recommend that you go seek out and click on so you can read it yourself. And then I also read I Am Not My Skin by Nima Kompa, which I thought was a pretty good short story. Not too much there, but it was very informative, learning more about the plight of individuals with albinism, like no pigment in their skin, in areas like Tanzania, where they're seen as mystical and often hunted for their bones so that they can be used in witchcraft. And like how, despite politicians saying, "Hey, don't do that," the practice still goes on. And so it's interesting from that perspective, maybe not so much for how the story is told. And then I also read a number of poems in the month of February. I only read one poem, which is After the President's Speech, You Dream of Corpses, which I think, judging by the title, should tell you everything you need to know about the poem. But I really wish I would have read more, but I was just so busy this month I didn't have time to make videos about poetry. But there's always March, and I'm looking forward to that. In terms of March, what do I have planned for the month of March in terms of what I want to read? Well, in terms of books, I do want to read Mox, the autobiography of John Moxley, otherwise known as Jonathan Good, a professional wrestler who he's one of my favorite wrestlers, and I've heard that his autobiography is pretty good, so I want to go and check that out. I also want to read Mouse. I actually bought the both volumes of Mouse, so be on the lookout for that. I had actually read Mouse before a couple years ago. I think it was actually recommended to me by Lucas over at the Bits of Lit. And I thought it was, I had actually only read volume 1, so I want to finish it out and check out volume 2. But I think there's so much we can discuss about Mouse in terms of it being banned, in terms of what it means for maybe Ukrainian Jews, Russian Jews, what's going on over there, and Judaism as a whole. Like lots to talk about there. There are also other comics that I want to check out that just arrived today as I was at work. Those comics are Sandman Overture, which is sort of the ultimate culmination of the entire Sandman series. It's sort of a prequel showing the Sandman's journey before he was captured in Volume 1. Really looking forward to checking this out, as it's a culmination of the Sandman series, which I have grown to really love. The other one is Batman Gotham by Gaslight, which I've heard good things about before. Been really looking for different Batman comics to read. Unfortunately, I think I've found the most of the more well-known ones, and so like Year One or The Long Halloween or Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on a Serious Earth. Like I think I found the more well-known ones, and so I'm getting to the ones that aren't talked about so much, which might be good and might be just not very good. So I think it's time to try to find other sources of comics rather than relying on B tier or C tier Batman comics. And then the last one is Iron Man Extremis. I think this was the foundation of the Iron Man 3, which a lot of people aren't fans of, but I actually enjoy that movie. And I've heard good things about this particular storyline, so looking forward to reading that too. And then I'm also currently reading, quite honestly, but it's a English book from the United Kingdom. I can't remember the author's name. It's not very good. I don't know if I'm actually going to talk about it because I at this point it's very boring and I'm not sure that there's anything worth discussing. But just stay tuned for that. There's another book called Here All Along, which is a book recommended to me by Bevan over at Nowhere. She doesn't have a BookTube channel yet, but this is another one of her recommendations to me. It's another a book about Judaism. I don't know if I'm going to talk about it on this channel. There's been a number of books that she's recommended that I haven't talked about on this channel. But maybe be on the lookout for that. And then other comics that I might get from the library, followed by Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. That was on my 2022 TBR. And it's also Lucas at the Bits of Lits. I think it's his favorite Shakespeare play. So I'm going to check it out, hopefully in the month of March. Maybe I'll have to push it off till April if there is not enough time. As for short stories in the month of March, one that I've already read and made a video for is The Hitchhiker. You'll probably see it before or around the same time this video comes out. I thought The Hitchhiker was a lot of fun, so check out that video. And also go check out the Codex Cantinas video that they made, because I just watched that and it's pretty good too. Also, The Foghorn by Ray Bradbury. I'm really surprised I haven't read anything by Ray Bradbury. I keep making plans to read him, but then just tossing that aside for something else. So be on the lookout for The Foghorn as well. And then whatever else I have planned, some random reads that I might pick up from my local library in terms of short stories. And then there are a number of poems that I want to read for the month of March. One poem in particular is about, it comes from Black History Month. I picked it out for Black History Month, but I never got a chance to read it. So just be on the lookout for that video when it comes out. Black History Month shouldn't be relegated to the month of February. We should talk about Black history whenever. So just be aware of that too. Anyway, and that's what I have planned for the month of March. Anyway, that was my wrap up and my TBR video. If you think there's something missing here and that I should probably check out in the near future, recommend it to me below in the comments. I would love to check out something that maybe I hadn't thought of before. Otherwise, don't be afraid to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about my wonderful channel and make recommendations as necessary. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird travels. Beware the Ides of March.